The morning started like any other for Ethan Brooks. At 5:15 a.m., the 40-year-old single father quietly stepped out of his small apartment in Columbus, Ohio. Before leaving, he checked on his 12-year-old daughter, Lily, who was still asleep with a science project spread across her bed. Ethan smiled. Everything he did was for her. For years, he had worked at Kingston Technologies, a large software company downtown. He wasn't an executive. He wasn't a manager. Most people barely noticed him. He worked in facilities operations. He fixed broken equipment, solved building problems, and kept the company's headquarters running smoothly. People often joked that Ethan knew every corner of the building better than the architects who designed it. What they didn't know was that Ethan had quietly saved the company from countless disasters. He never asked for recognition. He simply showed up and did his job. But on that Tuesday morning, his life was about to change. And not in the way anyone expected. 3 months earlier, Kingston Technologies had hired a new CEO. Her name was Victoria Hale. At 38 years old, she was known for turning struggling companies into profitable ones. Investors loved her. Employees feared her. Victoria believed every department should prove its value through numbers. Efficiency. Productivity. Cost reduction. Everything had to be measurable. And in her first 90 days, she began restructuring nearly every part of the company. Entire teams were moved. Budgets were cut. Employees were reassigned. The atmosphere became tense. Nobody knew what would happen next. That morning, Ethan received an email asking him to report to the executive conference room. He wasn't worried. He assumed it involved building maintenance. Instead, he found Victoria sitting at the head of the table. Several executives sat beside her. A folder rested in front of her. "Ethan Brooks?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." She opened the folder. "Your position is being reassigned." Ethan blinked. "Reassigned?" "Correct." She slid a document toward him. "Beginning today, you'll be working from the basement operations office." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The basement office was where outdated records were stored. It was isolated. Windowless. Far from daily operations. Employees called it the forgotten floor. Ethan looked at the paper. "May I ask why?" Victoria folded her hands. "Our analysis shows your department doesn't require direct access to upper management." One executive shifted uncomfortably. Another looked away. Victoria continued. "We're centralizing facilities operations." Ethan nodded slowly. "If that's what's best for the company." No argument. No anger. No complaint. Just quiet professionalism. Victoria seemed surprised. "That's all?" Ethan smiled politely. "I have work to do." He picked up the document and left. By 10 a.m., Ethan was unpacking boxes in the basement office. The room was old. Cold. And barely used. Dust covered the shelves. A flickering fluorescent light buzzed overhead. Most employees would have felt humiliated. But Ethan focused on what mattered. Doing good work. He spent the next hour cleaning the office. Then he organized decades of forgotten building records. By noon, the room looked completely different. That's when he heard footsteps. A young intern named Maya appeared in the doorway. "Ethan?" "Hey, Maya." She looked upset. "I heard what happened." Ethan shrugged. "It's okay." "No, it's not." He smiled. "Sometimes life moves us to places we didn't choose." Maya frowned. "How are you not angry?" Ethan thought for a moment. "My daughter taught me something." "What?" When something unfair happens, you can spend your energy being bitter, or spend it making things better. Maya laughed. Your daughter sounds smarter than most executives. She definitely is. For the first time that day, Maya smiled. At exactly 1:07 p.m., an unexpected visitor arrived at Kingston Technologies. The visitor was Senator Daniel Whitaker. Not for politics. Not for publicity. He had come for a private meeting involving a workforce development initiative the company had supported years earlier. Executives immediately rushed to greet him. Victoria personally welcomed him. Senator Whitaker, we're honored to have you. The senator smiled warmly. Thank you. After a brief tour, Victoria led him toward the executive conference room. But before entering, the senator stopped. Actually, before we begin, I'd like to see Ethan Brooks. The hallway went silent. Victoria looked confused. Ethan Brooks? Yes. Several executives exchanged glances. One finally spoke. He's in facilities. Wonderful. The senator smiled. Please take me to him. Victoria hesitated. He's currently working downstairs. Then let's go downstairs. The elevator ride felt strangely uncomfortable. Nobody understood what was happening. Why would a United States senator want to meet a facilities employee? When the doors opened to the basement, the group followed the senator down a narrow hallway. The executives looked increasingly confused. Victoria remained silent. Finally, they reached Ethan's office. He was kneeling beside a maintenance cabinet, repairing a faulty electrical panel. The senator's face immediately brightened. There he is. Ethan turned around. His eyes widened. Senator Whitaker? The senator walked forward and shook his hand with both hands. It's good to see you again, my friend. The room froze. Friend? Victoria's expression changed instantly. Years earlier, before becoming a senator, Daniel Whitaker had served as director of a community youth center. Back then, the center had nearly closed due to budget problems. The building was old. Equipment constantly failed. They couldn't afford repairs. One winter, the heating system completely broke. The center was days away from shutting down. Hundreds of children would lose after-school programs. Families would lose a safe place for their kids. Daniel had contacted dozens of companies seeking help. Most never responded. One person did. Ethan Brooks. At the time, Ethan had volunteered every weekend repairing community buildings. Without asking for payment, he spent nearly 3 weeks helping restore the center. He repaired heating systems. Fixed electrical problems. Rebuilt damaged equipment. And when he learned the center couldn't afford supplies, he quietly paid for several materials himself. Daniel never forgot. Neither did the families. Neither did the children. Standing in the basement office, the senator turned toward Victoria. Do you know what kind of man you have here? Victoria remained silent. The senator continued. 20 years in public service has introduced me to powerful people. He looked at Ethan. But I've rarely met someone with a bigger heart. Ethan looked embarrassed. Senator, that was a long time ago. Daniel smiled. Kindness doesn't expire. The room became quiet. Then the senator pointed toward Ethan. When nobody was watching, he helped hundreds of children. He turned toward the executives. Not because he wanted recognition. Not because cameras were present. Not because anyone offered him money. He did it because people needed help. No one spoke. Victoria stared at Ethan. For the first time, she seemed to truly see him. The meeting eventually moved upstairs. But something had changed. Victoria couldn't stop thinking about what she'd witnessed. For months, she had evaluated employees using charts, spreadsheets, and performance metrics. Yet none of those reports had mentioned the countless lives Ethan had impacted. No spreadsheet measured character. No graph measured kindness. No data report measured trust. Late that afternoon, Victoria reviewed Ethan's employment history. The deeper she looked, the more surprised she became. Letters of appreciation. Community awards. Employee recommendations. Records showing Ethan had mentored dozens of younger workers. Stories of him helping coworkers through difficult times. None of it had appeared in the efficiency reports. Because nobody had thought it mattered. The next morning, Ethan arrived at work expecting another normal day. Instead, he received a message asking him to come to the main auditorium. When he entered, hundreds of employees were gathered inside. Victoria stood on stage. Ethan immediately felt nervous. "What is this?" Victoria stepped forward. "An apology." The room fell silent. She looked directly at him. "Yesterday, I made a decision based only on numbers." Ethan listened quietly. "I evaluated a position." She paused. "But I failed to evaluate a person." The audience remained completely silent. Victoria continued. "I believed leadership was about efficiency." She smiled slightly. "Now I realize leadership is also about understanding the people who make an organization worth leading." Then she held up a document. "Effective immediately, Ethan Brooks will become Director of Community Operations." Gasps spread through the room. Ethan looked stunned. Victoria continued. "This new role will allow him to lead employee volunteer programs, community partnerships, mentorship initiatives, and workplace culture projects." The audience erupted into applause. Some employees stood. Then more stood. Soon the entire room was standing. Not because Ethan had received a promotion, but because they knew he deserved it. Months later, Kingston Technologies looked different. Employee volunteer programs expanded across the city. Scholarship initiatives were created. Community partnerships grew stronger. Workplace morale improved dramatically. And much of it started with one simple realization. People are more than job titles. More than departments. More than numbers. One evening, Ethan picked up Lily from school. As they walked home, she asked how work was going. He smiled. "Pretty good. Did they finally move you out of the basement?" Ethan laughed. "They did." Lily grinned. "Told you." "Told me what?" She shrugged. "Good people eventually get noticed." Ethan thought about the senator. The CEO. The employees. The long journey that had brought him there. Then he looked at his daughter. "No." He smiled softly. "Good people don't do kind things to get noticed." Lily tilted her head. "Then why do they do them?" Ethan squeezed her hand. "Because the world becomes a little better every time someone chooses kindness." For a moment, neither spoke. The evening sun painted the sky gold. And as father and daughter continued walking home together, Ethan realized something important. The greatest rewards in life rarely arrive as promotions, titles, or recognition. They arrive in the lives we touch. The people we help. The hope we leave behind. And sometimes, when we least expect it, kindness finds its way back to us. Not because we earned it, but because kindness has a way of creating ripples that travel farther than we can ever see.